Imposter syndrome. We've all suffered from it. We've all dealt with it. Some of you guys watching this video right now might be going through it. And all that means is essentially you're wondering, do I really belong in sync licensing? Do I really have value? Do I really have something decent enough that some library or some TV or film client would ever want to license it and accept it? Well, I want you guys to know that you are certainly in good company and you're not alone if you're struggling with that. I certainly dealt with that big time early in my career, knowing, not even like questioning, but just knowing that my music wasn't as good as most of the other music that I was competing against. And my guest today, Scott Johnson, who is also one of our pro feedback reviewers, struggled with this in a really, really real way a while back. And he shared his story with me actually 2 sync ups ago, basically about 2 years ago. And I'm just now getting him on the channel to share it. So first of all, sorry, Scott, it took so long to get to you.
Not
But I
at all.
really think that your story and what you shared with me at Sync Up was so powerful. And I really wanted to invite you on to the channel to share it with the community, to let everybody else know they're not alone either in terms of feeling or wondering or questioning themselves in terms of their value and their worth and whether or not they belong in this business. So let's go ahead and get
Mhm.
started, man. Where were you when you first stumbled into sync? What was it about sync that got you interested in it? And then when did this imposter syndrome really start to rear its ugly head in your life?
Absolutely. Those are great questions because where I was at the time, um, it's what's really funny, and I think I mentioned this to you before, Jesse, but I actually quit Sync Academy after about 4 months the first time because I had that sense of imposter syndrome. I remember, well, first of all, discovering the platform online like everybody else, just finding it somehow on YouTube. I don't know, just scrolling through music production stuff. And watching the videos, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So I jumped on, I logged in to the academy and all guns blazing. And then I started listening to everyone else's work. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is really, really good. And I think the sheer size of it, the scope of the different genres and approaches to producing was so overwhelming for me at the time because I had a very narrow, broad view of how to create music. And I think that's everybody who decides they want to get started. They have this they're coming from their own perspective. And then I remember 4 months in, I said, I gotta pull the plug on this because this is not working for me because I can't meet the standard that these amazing producers are producing at. And I think the biggest piece that hit me, and I still remember the feeling, was I had this like moment, oh my God, I am not only learning from these people, I am competing with these people. I am directly competing for jobs with people I'm learning from. There's no way I could match that. There's no way I could get to that point. So that was a big moment for me. And that was when I said, okay, you know what? It's not for me. But it's still kind of, I closed the program down and I still was really excited about producing music. So it was sat on the back burner for a while and I kind of dabbled with some of the tutorials and the ideas I learned from it in my DAW and explored a little more. And then I got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm just going to try again. This time I remember this. I'm going to actually just do each course methodically, step by step by step, at the very, very beginning. Even if I know the stuff, even if I'm comfortable with it, and there's got to be something there I missed or I don't know. So I started doing that. I went through like each, how to set up your DAW, what it looks like, how to find a reference track, things that, I should have, but I really took my time. And I specifically remember writing a minimum or doing the minimal tension uh, tutorial. And it was a long video. And I would pause it and I'd try it on my computer and I'd unpause it, I'd watch it, and then I'd take a break and I come back 2 hours later. And so I finished that track. It was garbage, but it was also a completed track. And that's when I started kind of saying, okay, this is a slow process, but it is a process that's attainable. And it's realistic because the skill sets I'm developing, I can kind of start um, branching into different genres and stuff. So that's when I started doing stuff. But I also had a second awakening, actually, two more awakenings. The second awakening was watching your your Psych 101 tutorials, and you having the approach of just being humble and saying, "Look, I'm not the world's greatest producer, but I worked my butt off. I learned what I can. I've got a great mindset and a great attitude, and that's how I got to where I got." And I thought, you know what? kind of sounds like me. So that was a huge impact on me, that this guy that I'm learning from that was so intimidating at the beginning is no different than me, has the same fears, has the same doubts, has the same struggles, and had to do the same thing I did. And that was massive for me. Big mind blowing moment. And so that's when I really jumped into it and really said, okay, this guy can do it. I can learn how to do it too. The third, and I think for me, the most important element of this imposter syndrome, and I've never shared this with you, was I was an imposter because I was trying to create things that I didn't know a single thing about. I'm trying to create orchestral music. I don't have a background in orchestral music. I think it's neat to hear, and I've heard it, but I don't know a single thing about it other than what I might learn here. And not that I couldn't learn it, but of course I'm not going to be able to compete with anybody else who's been studying, plays the piano since they were 4 years old. Of course. But I played music all my life. I played guitar all my life, and I've listened to punk. I've listened to rock. I've listened to hip hop. I've listened to different genres of music, and that became my wheelhouse. So the imposter syndrome changed when I went from my own experiences and built upon it rather than trying to match someone else's idea of what success looked like.
There's so many gems in there. The first thing is that you realize that just finishing a track was key. Starting a track,
Yeah.
finishing it.
Yeah.
And I hope people
Yeah.
don't just move on with this interview and think that that's just noise. That actually is so, so crucial, because I think what you did is you got out of your own way to say, what I'm finishing doesn't need to be the best thing I've ever done. It just needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
And then what you did moving forward was to create a new habit for yourself and a new expectation that when I start a track, it's not going to be the best thing I've ever done. Probably most tracks won't be, but at least I hit the end. I hit bounce. I
Yes.
actually finish things, because that's what a professional does, is they finish. That's really for
Absolutely.
me, the only difference between a professional and an amateur. A professional doesn't have the option of giving up on a track. They just need to finish the damn thing so they can move on to the next. The amateur has the luxury and the freedom to go, not feeling it, gonna go play video games,
Yes.
gonna go watch something, go to do
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to come back to it. Maybe I'll try something else later. That same type of attitude where it's you're not in the mindset of completing it. You're just in the mindset of having fun with it. There's a massive difference. And I'll tell this to the producers that I provide feedback for on the feedback platform. Create your 100 bad songs. We all did, and we all will. Maybe it's not 100. Maybe it's 50. Maybe you're lucky enough it's 10. Maybe it's 500. But you're going to create your songs that are not going to go anywhere. And there's no harm in that, because like you said, once you start it, once you finish it, you've developed that skill set that can't be taken away. Now you're going to start again on a new track. It's so important.
Yeah, that's such great advice, to know that you're going to have to go through the suck phase at some point. So you might as well get through it now, and the
Yeah.
the faster way to get through it is to finish every sucky, quote unquote, sucky track that you
Yeah.
complete, so that you can kind of move forward much faster that way. So you're absolutely right there. The second thing you said, which is really interesting, when he was mentioning you mentioned the Sync Psych videos. For those that are not aware, we have a whole series
Hmm.
of tutorials in Sync Academy called Sync Psych, and they're not about technical analysis. They're not about understanding how the business works. They're literally psychological reframes and just ways to deal with the mental and emotional stress and the anxiety and the uncertainty that
Yeah.
is built into this industry. There's no getting around it. And I also want you to maybe touch a little bit more on the psychological aspects of this
Sure.
business, because I find that so many producers are excited about sync fees, royalties, placements, blah, 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 all the usual suspects. Not many people are interested in the psychological issues until
Mm.
it becomes something that makes them want to quit, right? They get their next rejection
Absolutely.
notice, or the royalties aren't coming in quick enough. So I don't know if you can maybe talk a little bit more about your journey through evolving psychologically and how you're preparing yourself and your mindset for success with this.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, and I've said this to producers in the past, for me, the modules were just as crucial, just as important for me as a producer than the technical specs. Just as important, because yeah, there was a lot of self doubt when I first started. Absolutely, there's a huge learning curve, and I was just looking through it, trying to refresh my memory, and I was looking through it this morning, and just the idea of dealing with rejection. Um, Dealing with that self doubt, dealing with the concept that you're just not as good as everyone else, was so important for me to follow through with, and to go through those. And it might even be worth revisiting, because it's such a good mindset to have, and it's so universal. Um, it helped me in ways you can't even imagine, Jesse, in that um, I was able to use that to springboard into other aspects of my career. So that idea of imposter syndrome, and in the psych program, I really, the big message I got from it was that you have to kind of forge your own path. Of course, you're going to feel like an imposter when you're trying to follow someone else's lane and steps to success. And I think you even say that at one point, like the way you're going to get to success may not look anything close to what my path was or is. The industry's changed, the game's changed, the technology's changed. So I kind of took that. And I think the biggest statement I took from it was, well, someone's got to do it. Why not me? And that was the biggest nugget of truth I found in that program. Someone's going to do these things. There's going to be a demand for the music. There's going to be a demand for creatives. Why not me? And I wish I had learned that 20 years ago. One of those, wisdom is wasted on the older. And I definitely wish I could have. But with that in mind, I started looking at different other aspects of my life. And I thought, how can I reframe my approaches to things? I've been teaching for 20 years. And when you get into any job after 20 years, you kind of go, okay, well, I'm getting kind of bored. It's rewarding, but it's 20 years of your life. Why can't I try something else? Why can't I branch into something else? The music started it, but then I got into acting and thought, "Oh, I'm going to try it. Someone's got to be in these silly commercials. Why not me? Someone's going to act silly and dance for a Pepsi. Why can't it be me?" And it was. And it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of rejection, a lot of failure. Instead of 100 songs, now it's 100 auditions before I get my job. And I've been very, very lucky and very, very fortunate to have some amazing opportunities from it. So I've embraced the idea that success can only be achieved when you try to get over who you are as a person, get out of your own way, and kind of believe that you have a skill set that is in demand. And as creative people, we all have our skill sets that are in demand. All of us are on this platform because we love writing music. We love being creative. We get jazzed when we create something. So it's just now a matter of leaning into it. And that was the biggest takeaway from the Psych 101. Absolutely so invaluable to me.
Well, everybody's
Big
going to
life
want to
changing.
know which commercials were you featured in. So you got to share
Well,
those with us.
well, I've been in a few now. I've been fortunate enough, and funny enough, being up here in Canada, you wouldn't think this, but most of my work is in the States. Like most of it plays on networks, and sometimes I don't actually. There are commercials I've been in that I do not see, and I've not seen before, because they're just not here in Canada. But I mean, I've been on a Target, Sam's Club, GM Trucks, Pepsi. There's a new one for protein powder, Orgain protein drink. I just did last week. Trying to think. There's been so many. And there's new ones kind of coming up here. And there's a couple of episodes of TV shows where I'm in the background doing the odd thing here or there. I'm no Hollywood star by any stretch. I know that, but it's been very fun. And that idea, walking onto a set and there's 60 people and there's cameras everywhere and they all know what they're doing because these are a crew of people that have been doing their job for 20 years, and here I am completely green. uh you know uh, but the idea or the mentality of, well, someone's got to do it and get out of your own way, and that has really transferred very, very well for me in that way.
Totally. And if you guys think that getting rejected by libraries is hard, try being an actor and getting rejected in auditions where you have to basically embarrass yourself in front of strangers consistently and get
uh
nothing most of the time, probably, right? No response at all.
Nothing,
It's like, if we
no
like you,
words,
we'll reach out to you, right?
and no reason as to why. And then the worst, Jesse, is when you're watching TV and the commercial that you auditioned has such a great feeling. Maybe you had a callback, you met the director, and you're watching it, and somebody else was cast, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I could have done a better job. Why did that guy get?" Because you don't hear typically the songs like. It's not like you're going to listen to the football NFL segment and go, "Oh, that should be my song right there instead of this guy's song." That doesn't typically happen. But when you watch a specific commercial and you go, "Oh, that should have been me," it is definitely a form of rejection. But by having that mentality of get your horrible songs, your suck phase out of the way, it made such a massive difference in my productivity and my creativity, and ultimately because of that, my success.
Yeah, and it's the number one reason I have noticed that most producers give up in this is not because they're technically struggling with something or they can't understand how the industry works or something like that. It's literally some psychological issue. It's I've been rejected by 10 companies. I can't take another rejection. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Or it's
Yeah.
been 2 years. My royalties are not growing fast enough. I don't have the patience for this. I got to move on. I'm not seeing enough results, that kind of thing. Which, again, everybody can make their own decision on what results are good enough for you to continue on. But I will tell you guys that no matter who you are in this industry, you're going to feel like things aren't moving fast enough no matter what. Even if you're like, you know what, I'm patient. I'll wait 5 years to see. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel like the human brain is just not programmed to be sitting there patiently in
Hmm.
Zen mode for years and years and years without seeing results. So your some part of your
Yeah.
brain is going to start to kick in to go, hey, you got to see some results much faster if you're going to continue adding more effort to this. It's just a human
What
condition. It's not.
quantifiable thing do I have that shows my success? What thing do I have? And it's hard, especially because we get paid last when it comes to a commercial or it comes to a promo, like as the producer. So I mean, I'm 9 months ago, like I looked at my statements today for next quarter, and it's stuff that I wrote in December of last year, and I'm like, I can't even remember what was placed at that time. So you kind of you lose interest. But I think it also comes down to how you got to measure your success too. You can't measure it in dollar signs at all, and because then no matter how much you make, you're never going to be happy.
Right. Yeah. And the first thing for sure, before the dollars even come in, is like how do you pay yourself, right? How you filling up
Yeah.
your own cup of motivation. And yeah, for everybody's gonna have a different answer. For me, it was just the love, the craft, the buzz I would get from creating and finishing a track that I was so excited I wanted to play it for my buddies and my friends and family, that kind of thing. So
Well, I wanted to ask you something, Jesse, if that's okay.
go for it.
I don't mean to flip the script on you. I just thought of this. I wanted to ask you. So I noticed that you started doing some collaborating again. And how's that been for you? And what made you decide you wanted to get back into the collaborative process?
Sync up in a word. I mean, really just going to sync up, listening to many of your guys' music, just in the room with you, hearing your music on these loud blasting speakers. I was just like, man, just reignited my love for sync music and also interacting with all the library CEOs. And honestly, also selfishly realizing that I could probably pick out anybody in this room and say, "Hey, do you want to collaborate?" And they'd almost all say yes. After all these years, I've never taken that
Yeah.
advantage. I've never played that card, and I realized I could play that card and just say, "Hey, do you want to do it?" So literally, one of the
Well,
members
yeah.
who had
Why
won
not?
one of our awards, Ben, I said, "Dude, love what you're doing.
Incredible
Maybe we could work
composer.
together."
Yeah.
So, in a word, I've loved it. There's already been some, not with Ben, but with other elements of the process. There's been some slowdowns and some things that have kind of gotten in the way of us getting stuff done as fast as I'd like to, and it's
Yeah.
reminding me of a lot of those pain points that I used to go
Yeah.
through early in my career.
Yeah.
So it's good though, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this whole song and dance about collaborating, and
Yeah.
we're still marching forward with it. So I'm really excited about it. But it's just like how you, as you said in the beginning, the path that you envision. Usually it doesn't work out that way. It's like, all right, well, that's where we thought we're going to go. Well, that's not working. We're going to have to kind of reorient and figure out where we go
Yeah.
forward with this. So it's funny you asked that. We actually are now looking for a new vocalist to basically partner with us. So we're actually posting that in Sync
Amazing.
Academy. We just posted that. So we've got many new
Amazing.
submissions. So this is kind of breathing some new energy into the project. But I love it. I mean, I definitely I want to practice what I'm preaching, because I'm telling you guys for sure collaborating is certainly going to be a move we all should be making. So I'm just going to jump into the fold as well and remind myself of not only the upsides but also the challenges that come along with it. So it's a
Right.
great question.
Did you
So I'm
do you
loving it, but
find
I'm
that
also reminded of how hard it can be.
the imposter syndromes come back a little bit for you?
No, I'll be honest. That's the good news for all of you guys. Is after a while, once you've accumulated enough, well, I guess I should say yes and no. So a part of me goes, I've got a proven record in this business. I have this confidence, like we're going to find a home for these tracks. I don't know exactly
Right.
which company we're going to pitch them to. We've got an idea of like a short list of who we want to go to. But there's also that other idea, which is like they might all say no. They might all not respond to us. They might reject us. And then certainly
Hmm.
the ego in me wants to go, well, dude, if
Right.
you don't get it accepted, like you can't
Yeah.
coach anybody else because you have to.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's the
Right.
little
Right.
lie that I get, which is like you better get accepted on the
Oh.
first stab or else you're a complete fraud, right? So
Yeah.
I have to kind of
Huh.
counteract that to go, nope, just like I tell all of you guys that like the first time you submit to somebody, they might not get into it, they might not open it, they might not like it.
Yeah,
I do have some advantages. Obviously, in my position, I have some personal relationships with many different production libraries at this point. So sometimes
for sure.
emailing them is not like a cold email. It's just like, hey, Bob, hey, Fred, we've been talking for a long time
Yeah.
now. So if we go with one of our proven kind of established relationships, I think our chances are obviously much better. But we might be going out to a lot of cold calling clients that we've never talked to
Mm,
before. So for sure, I do still have that little thought, but I think as time goes on, as I've dealt with that so many times, it's just not the thing that's going to stop me. It's just like, yeah, that's there,
right.
but whatever. You just kind of go forward. You still move forward with your plan.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
Let's
Yeah,
just
it's
let you
almost like a
host this
different type of
interview. I
pressure.
like this better.
All right. Well, actually, that brings up to my next point. I think that's my next step in this evolution is I'm enjoying the producing and I love doing the feedback and I have a lot of other jobs on the side which I've been doing. And I think I want to get into. I'd love to pick the brains of a lot of producers, and I think that's my next stage is a podcast of sorts. I've been kind of brainstorming, and we talked about it at Sync Up, and just meeting with producers and talking to them about their process and their obstacles and their goals in the industry, and how they remain focused and everything like that. Maybe choose one song that they can use as their springboard into their one song that reflects on their career. So yeah, going back to what you were saying about, just letting this be a process and trying to find your own path. I think that's so crucial for all of us in this program.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And if you're cool with it, Scott, maybe I can put your contact information down in the description box. So if there is a producer
Absolutely.
that maybe wants to reach out to you, because I know you've been
Yeah.
wanting to do more kind of like highlight or spotlights on certain composers and producers and find out about what's
Yes.
going on with them. If you guys are interested in connecting with Scott directly, we'll
Absolutely.
we'll put that down below. And of course, if you guys are in pro feedback and you haven't been working with Scott, you should definitely give him a shot. He's done some amazing reviews over the last 2 years, 2+ years.
I'm
We've
over
had
300 now. I just
300
checked my
reviews.
last count. Yeah.
So what's great about you guys working with Scott now is that you're having the wisdom and the benefit of him already reviewing hundreds of tracks. So he's
Mhm.
probably in his mind, maybe even not consciously, he has pattern recognition built into his review process now.
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I could do it in my sleep now, and I love doing it. And I think the one thing that I enjoy about it is I like to, it's the teacher in me, but it's I like helping people, and I love when I hear afterwards, from a producer, "Hey, thank you for that. This fix or that fix has really helped, and now I'm doing this now, or now I'm with the library, or now I'm writing a lot better." Even it's an incredibly rewarding experience, not just for them, but for me as well. So I'm a bit selfish. I like the feeling that I get when I help someone, but yeah, I absolutely would love to work with more producers. I think it's great.
Yeah. And I think the last point to wrap this one up with, I will remind Scott and all of you guys of a really interesting point that Scott had when we first started Pro Feedback. And maybe you remember this or not, but I hand selected maybe like 6 of you to become our Pro Feedback reviewers. And why did I select them? Well, sometimes they were library owners that had a good track record. Other times I've just seen on our platforms, they've been members that have been very helpful and just have this knack for, first of all, having great high quality music, but also being able to teach and educate and help others. I'm always looking for that kind of ability because just because somebody makes great high quality music, they might not have the great communication and
Yeah.
teaching skills that you really need to be able to kind of reach out and help others. So Scott obviously had that. And I reached out and
Oh,
asked
thank you.
him, and he's looking at all the other people that I had talked to and invited to the
Oh,
platform.
right. Yes, I
He's
remember
like,
this.
Jesse, you got Mike. He's got crazy credits. Trevor's been in this game for so like, who am I? Like, are
Yeah,
you sure you picked the
yeah.
right person? Maybe my email
I
shouldn't have been
remember
included
emailing
there.
you that.
And so
Yeah,
imposter syndrome right there, right? I don't belong.
100%. Oh,
Shouldn't be
yeah.
here. And so I said, Scott, just trust me, essentially. I think you got something really high quality to offer here. Your
Yeah,
energy, your teaching skills, the quality of music, your ability to communicate, I think is the reason why you're going to be on here. You don't need to have all the
right.
credits and all this sort of experience all these other guys
I
have.
can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
So
That was a
we move
really
forward
key
with
moment.
it, and you fast forward. It was 6 months, a year, because I'm monitoring. I can see all the submissions, who's getting requested. Because when you guys are in pro feedback, you guys get to select who you want to do it. Scott became essentially the most requested reviewer very quickly on the platform. And this is not to throw
Yeah.
shade at any other reviewers. They do great work
No.
as well, and they get a lot of requests. But I just
Yes.
wanted to, I let Scott know this at one of our last sync ups. I just said, just so you know, the numbers don't lie. And people on the
Mm,
platform acknowledge and appreciate the value that you're giving them. So I wanted to give you
yeah, I appreciate
confirmation
that.
that you're not a fake, you're not a phone, you're not a fraud, you're not. putting
I'll
yourself in a
remember that
situation
when
you
I need
shouldn't
it.
be. You are proving your worth and your value to our community. So obviously,
Oh,
for those of you
thank you,
guys that have worked
Jesse.
with Scott, you already know this. And if you guys haven't worked with him yet, definitely go on the platform and request your next track review to go with him. So thank you so much, Scott, man. I
Absolutely.
appreciate your time. Any last
Of
words of
course.
advice you want to give to anybody watching this?
Find your lane and run with it. And whatever it looks like, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Find what makes you feel the most passionate and most excited about something, and just run with it. That's probably the best advice you could use.
That's it. Just do you. All right, guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Appreciate it, Scott. We'll talk to you all real soon.
All right. Thanks so much.